Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's Tuesday Leadership Tip. And this is about something I witnessed firsthand recently, which reinforced just how powerful it is when done right. And that is servant leadership, or you can call it a mixture of humble leadership, servant leadership, essentially putting your people first. So, here's the story. I just wrapped up the final leg of my travel collecting surveys for my dissertation. Finally! After 9 months. And this was one of my last stops. And it had been at a dealership I had really been looking forward to visiting. I had met the owner about 10 years ago at a conference. And even back then, I could tell this guy was different. You could sense he was a servant leader, he was humble, he was people first, and extremely authentic. But seeing him in action inside the store, that really let me see things in a whole new way. So when I arrived, I hadn't seen him in like 10 years, and he couldn't have been more welcoming, more appreciative, more genuine about having me there. He doesn't even have an office anymore, by the way. He semi-retired, he still owns the dealership, but he gave his office up so that others could use it. Well, we walk into one of the manager's offices, wasn't there, and he doesn't go sit at the manager's desk. He sits across from it, and he has me sit in the manager's chair. Now, he didn't make any mention of this, he didn't point it out. It was obviously just his nature, humility. But I noticed it immediately. That small action sent a message that this wasn't about him, he was giving me the room. I could tell this was my first subtle small sign in action that he put people first. And as we talked, everything kept coming back to his people. Not in a cliche way, not in a way that just sounds good. And I can tell you how many times I've asked an owner or a manager over the years, what is your biggest competitive advantage or strength about the dealership, about the department? And so many say it's their people, but then they don't show it in actions that support that in a real lived out way. But what this owner exuded was different. One thing he shared was he doesn't like to hand out cash bonuses or spiffs. He says how it will just be spent and forgotten tomorrow. Instead, he tries to create memorable experiences and moments for his employees. Things that they'll talk about, in some cases, for the rest of their lives, or at least beyond the very next day. One thing he shared, he had an employee who was getting married, and they couldn't afford much of a honeymoon. They just had a small local getaway planned. So he stepped in and surprised them with a cruise, upgraded their entire honeymoon. I thought about that, and that wasn't just some bonus. He literally gave them a lifelong memory. One that we all know is this. It's going to cause this. If you want a truly committed employee, it's not just about getting them committed. It's about their spouse, their family, them believing that this is the company that their spouse should work for, especially with the hours that one must commit away from family at times. Well, this owner mentioned how it didn't need to be a cruise. It could be a dinner at a really nice restaurant that an employee might never splurge on otherwise. And those kind of gestures, that's what creates loyalty and alignment that extends far beyond the workplace. Then I started talking to his employees, and here's what stood out. They all said the same thing. It wasn't scripted, not rehearsed. It's just consistent. One employee, he told me about his very first day and how much it meant to him that the owner of this very large dealership, very busy man, personally sat down with him during the onboarding, one-on-one privately. And then he said, if you ever want to talk, if you ever have a concern, my door is always open. Now, we've all heard that line before, but here's what made it different for that employee. The employee said, he looked me in the eyes, and I knew he meant it. That employee has been there for over 10 years and still remembers that moment like it was yesterday. So, here's the lesson. Servant leadership, it's not about big speeches. It's not about titles. It's not even about grand gestures. It's about consistent, genuine actions that show your people they matter. Sometimes it's as simple as giving up the seat at the desk or taking time for a real conversation to happen, creating meaningful moments, and being present in someone's first day. And lastly, following through on what you say you're going to do. People notice. Your employees notice. I noticed. So here's the thing about this week. I want you to think about somebody, whether it's a new hire or somebody who's been there 10 years, and ask yourself, what is one genuine action that you can show them? Not because it looks good, not because it's expected, but just because you genuinely mean it. Because when you lead this way, it always comes back to you. It comes back in loyalty. It comes back in effort. It comes back in that culture you're trying to build. It comes back in performance. So that is my leadership tip. Thank you, and lead well this week. Take care.